India and Greece have taken a major step towards strengthening defence ties. The two countries signed a fresh joint agreement during the visit of Greece's defence minister to New Delhi. As regional alliances shift, India and Greece are moving closer, especially in naval cooperation. Well, the agreement was signed after talks between Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and his Greek counterpart Nikolaos Dendias in New Delhi. The declaration will lead to a 5-year roadmap to guide defence partnership between the two countries. Both sides also exchanged a military cooperation plan for 2026, designed to guide future defence engagement between the two armed forces. India and Greece also agreed to work together to strengthen their defence industries by linking India's Make in India push with Greece's defence reform plan.
India attaches high importance to its long-standing and time-tested partnership with Greece. Our relations are based on shared values of peace, stability, freedom, and the rule of law. During the historic visit of our Honorable Prime Minister in 2023, our bilateral relations was raised to the level of strategic partnership. The visit of Honorable Prime Minister of Greece to India in February 2024 further cemented this growing partnership.
It builds on growing naval ties, including their first ever joint maritime drills held last year in the Mediterranean. Greece will now post a liaison officer at India's Information Fusion Centre in Gurugram to boost maritime coordination. Both sides see naval cooperation as a key pillar of their partnership, with a focus on security in the Mediterranean and the Indo-Pacific. Greece highlighted India's importance as a key global partner. Greek Defence Minister underlined India's growing global role at the inaugural India-EU Forum, held in partnership with the Ministry of External Affairs in February 2026.
Maybe in the past, India was a nice to have, but not a necessary to have. Now India is necessary to have.
Well, this partnership is gaining importance as Turkey deepens defence principles with Pakistan. Turkey has openly backed Pakistan during periods of tension with India following terror attacks. At the same time, Turkey's expanding role in regional security has raised concerns in Greece, especially in the Mediterranean. As a result, Turkey's regional posture has strained relations with both India and Greece. Greece and Turkey have had a tense relationship for decades. A major point of conflict is Cyprus, which has remained divided since Turkey sent troops there in 1974. The two sides also disagree over sea borders and control in parts of the Aegean and Mediterranean seas. But India and Greece share concerns about regional stability and maritime security. Both countries are strengthening naval cooperation, joint exercises, and defence industry links.
इस साल भारत, साइप्रस और ग्रीस बिजनेस और इन्वेस्टमेंट काउंसिल भी लॉन्च किया गया है। इन इनिशिएटिव से दोनों देशों के बीच आपसी व्यापार और निवेश को भी बल मिलेगा।
As regional dynamics shift, India is broadening its strategic footprint, with Greece emerging as a key security partner. So for more on this, we're now joined by Vivek Mishra, Deputy Director of the Strategic Studies Programme at the Observer Research Foundation and Fellow for the Americas, joining us from New Delhi live now. Welcome to the programme. Let me ask you first, if I may then, how do you gauge this agreement between India and Greece in terms of countering the emerging Turkey-Pakistan axis?
Well, thank you for having me. I don't see it as a direct function of a relationship between Greece and India, because I think Greece and India relationship has been nurtured, is being nurtured for a while now. I mean, if you look at the Western Indian Ocean, part of the CMF, which is the Combined Maritime Force, Turkey is part of that Greece is part of that loose coalition of maritime partners. So I think we've had partnership with Greece, but I do think, coming back to your question, that it is important that the Turkey lens is important because Turkey is trying to increase its footprints in not just in around the Mediterranean, but I think in South Asia as well. If you look at the relationship with Pakistan and Maldives in particular, and many of the tides have turned over, particularly in Maldives. I think we view Turkey's relationship not as strong as many would do. But I think there is a definitive sort of pushback, if you will, from India's own perspective in terms of how it views its region and the wider Indo-Pacific region. Not from a question of dominance, but I think it's important that the defense minister highlighted the rules-based order. As an emerging global South country, I think it's important to lay the emphasis on the idea of rules-based order. And we see that a outlier like Pakistan in the region, which is a nuclear, which has a non-proliferation record in history, partnering with another extra-regional country, has to be seen from that lens. So I do think that the India-Greece partnership has a potential that is not just limited to defense, but I think connectivity. Increasingly, the Greece port of Piraeus, where China has huge stakes, is increasingly now looking through the Middle East for a potential connectivity to the Indo-Pacific. And on that idea, I think the Trump administration is pretty bullish as well.
Interesting what you say there. I mean, this relationship between India and Greece, it hasn't just come out of the blue, has it? It has been nurtured over the last few years.
Yeah, at least I would like to see that way, because I think there is a resonance in the democratic rules-based order that both countries believe in. I don't think it has come out of the blue suddenly. There has been a support at the global level from each other, and I think in the recent past, I think what has played a catalyst is, of course, what in last year's May there was a skirmish between India and Pakistan, and you could see Turkey siding with Pakistan. We have evidence of Turkey supplying in real-time information and defense equipment to Pakistan. So I think if countries choose their sides as an emerging power, India will take certain steps to guard its own interests, and I think there's an obvious lens from that angle to view this partnership.
And how then does this play into India's overall strategic plan when it comes to security agreements with countries everywhere?
I think it fits in pretty well. I have 2 or 3 layers to view it. I think India and Greece have squared their long-term arc of defense partnership, and where the Hellenic defense reforms agenda of 2030 and India's own Atmanirbhar Bharat, which looks at a developed India by 2047, really sort of coalesce at some point. The second layer is the defense. India is increasingly emerging as a defense supplier, and it wants new partners and markets to be able to expand that area. And I think Greece is a natural ally there. Armenia has emerged as a strong partner in that region, in the southern Caucasus region. And the third layer is, of course, the idea of the rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific and connectivity perspective that we view this region from, and particularly from the idea of energy security, technology movement, and also the idea that India is going to play a greater role in the Middle East and the Mediterranean as we go forward. And in your introductory pitch, you've highlighted one of the first exercises that India did in the Mediterranean. I think it's important because it's something that has not been very commonly seen in the past, and it's a sign of India's emerging, getting out of the comfort, if you will, steps.
Okay, we'll leave it there, Vivek Mishra. Thank you very much indeed for joining us here on Firstpost Spotlight.
Power doesn't end quietly. Some deaths are not accidents. They are messages. A gunshot. A crowd. A country frozen. The killer disappears. The questions don't. This is not just about who died. It's about what followed. Governments fell. Armies moved. History rewrote itself. 5 leaders, 5 moments, 1 pattern, the assassination.